It was an average summer morning on the Isle of Sodor, and Thomas the tank engine was waiting for passengers at a dry ore station. Suddenly, Percy arrived with a freight train bound for Farquhar, but had enough time built into his schedule to stop and have a chat with Thomas. "You look glum, little Percy. What's up?"
"It's that blasted James again. I think he's in one of his moods."
"What's he said this time?"
"I met him back at Elsbridge, while he was hauling a passenger train bound for Cronk, and out of nowhere he shouted, 'Hey everyone, look at what crawled out of the hay! It's just like a woolly bear!'"
"Oh, really? It's not even 1986 anymore."
"That's what I tried to tell him, but he just refused to listen, and cleared off while looking very smug. Oh, I'm so angry I could send these wagons crashing off the pier into Bulstrode again."
One of Percy's wagons heard this unsettling thought, and passed a message on to the others.
"Oh shit, lads, we'd better keep our traps shut."
"That's going to be a bit difficult."
"It'll probably be like the events of Follow That Flower all over again."
"Here's a thought. Why don't we come up with some way of paying him out?"
"Good idea, Thomas, but we'll have to discuss that later. After all, these wagons need to get to the terminus before the fish and chip shop opens."
Sometime later, Thomas and Percy were back at Tidmouth Sheds. Suddenly, Sodor's resident Ivets Class 2MT tank engine backed down into the shed next to Percy. Arthur had briefly been transferred away from his usual job because the fishing village was undergoing renovations. "Evening, lads." "Hello, Arthur. We were just trying to think of ways to pay James out for insulting Percy this morning."
"I swear, he's been worse than usual recently."
"You don't have to tell me twice."
"Anyone would think that he's got an upcoming job that he perceives to be really important."
Funnily enough, I met him at Knapford Harbour earlier today, and he had the nerve to say that the LMS lettering on my water tank stood for the Lick My Socks Railway. Is that true? No, of course not. It actually stands for the Loathsome Marks and Spencer's Railway.
My doctor has forbidden me to laugh hysterically, as much as I want to. Hey Thomas, how do you propose we get back at James for insulting Arthur and I?
Do you remember that one time in Season 10 when James had the Bumblebee livery?
Of course I do. Ha! Classic times.
Nonsense. You need to go back a few more seasons for the real classic times.
Further than Season 7 for sure.
Charming. Anyway, I was thinking we could get our drivers to buy some black and yellow spray paint and...
Oh, I think I understand where this is going.
News to me that you could.
Hey!
Later that night, Thomas, Percy and Arthur found James resting on a siding at Cronk Station. The locomotives stopped on the platform, so as not to wake up the NWR's number 5, otherwise the plan would have been ruined. Then, their crews got down and quietly walked over to James, managing to hide the paint cans under their shirts. The next morning, the Farquhar boys were all resting at Elsbridge Yard in between runs up the branch. Toby was telling Thomas and Percy about a strange encounter his driver had the night before. "So my driver says to the lady, 'What do you mean? I thought you would have known that the best things actually come in 2s, not 3s. You'd look pretty terrifying if you had 3 of them.' And what happened after that? Thomas! What the bloody hell do you think you're playing at? How dare you remind me of such an awful time in our history? Although, to be fair, it wasn't as bad as seasons 13 to 16, or even All Engines Go. You mention that diabolical reboot again, and I'll brutally rip you apart like what Oliver did to Scruffy. Is that clear? Yes, sir. Quite clear. Anyway, James, how can you even tell what livery you're in when you can't see yourself? My driver and fireman took a picture of me this morning when they came to light my fire. He only knew it was your doing because the station master showed him the CCTV footage from last night. Blasted modern technology. And I've also got a message from the Troll and Fatler. He says that your crews are to come back to Knapford immediately for a tongue lashing. But we've still got work to do on our branch line. Well, if I'm doing a season 10 throwback against my will, I don't see why you two can't do the same thing. You mean, trying to move without a driver or fireman?
Mate, you're dreaming!
You know what? Stuff this. Now that your crews are on board, I'm off to Knapford. And with that, the grumpy 260 went back to the station, using the turntable at Tidmouth on the way. Well, this sucks.
Oh well, it could be worse. We could have been subjected to a live performance of broken English from Mario Faithful.
You know, I wouldn't actually mind that. I'm a bit partial to 70s music.
Well, how about we listen to the extended version of Disco Duck?
I said 70s music, not 70s tat. It wasn't too long before James arrived at Knapford. Once he came to a stop, Thomas and Percy's crews got a stern talking to from the Troll and Fatler, who had them suspended for 1 week without pay. He passed a message on to the station master at Elsbridge, who, in turn, passed it on to the NWR's numbers 1, 6 and 7. In the meantime, while James was away, the tank engines had rearranged some of their rolling stock for their afternoon services. Well, that's good news, isn't it, chaps? That should teach him not to bully Percy and Arthur in the future.
Agreed!
Hey up, lads. Have I missed anything? No, you're just in time.
Look! Here he comes now!
Oh, this should be good. I heard through the grapevine that he hasn't reverted back to his normal livery yet. Before meeting the Troll and Fatler, James was under the impression that he would be running a special passenger train for Madonna or some other famous singer. But Sir Topham wasn't stupid enough to let his number 5 run such an important train while looking so ridiculous. So instead, he just dumped him on a hit-era throwback train to embarrass the 260 even further. And the job of hauling the special passenger train was given to a well-respected Welshman instead, but no one could explain how he ended up on Sodor in the first place. Thomas, Percy, Toby and Arthur laughed so hard that they almost died. But James didn't share their laughter, naturally. Instead, he just whimpered along the line in shame, simply hoping to get the job done as soon as possible. One can only hope that he has finally learned his lesson.